Hey friends! My name's Desiree, aka Mama Friendly, and I do all sorts of videos on my channel. I do cooking videos, hauls, vlogs, tons of Disney content, a little bit of everything. So if any of that sounds like fun to you, I hope you'll subscribe and join me on this YouTube adventure. Speaking of Disney content, today is one of my favorite types of videos to make. I'm going to attempt to recreate a Disney World or Disney Resort themed food right here in my home, but because it's me, I'm going to be putting an allergy-friendly twist on it. Yep, in case you're new, I do eat exclusively gluten and dairy free, and even though I go to the parks a lot, I typically can't partake of the more like popular foods, the trending foods, because typically there's not a gluten-free or dairy-free option for those foods. So what ends up happening is that I hear about this thing and I think, oh my gosh, if only I could have that. I start brainstorming, and eventually, a lot of the time, I end up coming up with a pretty close dupe here at home. Now, if you're not worried about allergens at all, then you can also prepare this just like I'm explaining it, or you can use ingredients that suit your tastes and see how they come out for you. Because you have less dietary restriction, you also have less restriction with your ingredients. So if there's something I'm showing you today that doesn't sound good to you, or that you think it's not worth buying just for this one thing because you don't typically eat it, I totally understand. Experiment for yourself, see what you have around that might work just as well, and go for it and let me know how it turns out for you. My hair's doing a thing today. It's a casual vibe we're going for. It's fine. We're not going to talk about it. What we are going to talk about is that we recently went to the parks. You can see that right up here. I did a whole vlog for our whole little trip. And while we were there, our last day we went to Animal Kingdom. And my parents tried the Guava Pancake Sausage Stuffed Sandwich. Officially, it's called the Stuffed Pancake Sandwich. And they found it at the little bar set up right by Expedition Everest in the Asia area of the park. Not sure what guava or pancakes have to do with Asia, but let's suspend disbelief for a minute. I was already planning to try to recreate that sandwich here at home just because it sounded really good to me. I'm Cuban, we eat guava all the time, and it's fun to see it popping up at all these places around. But especially because we had the opportunity to try it for ourselves, or my parents did anyways, I was excited because now they could tell me what it was like, and I could use that to inform the decisions that I would make here at home to try to get as close to the real park food as possible. So basically, the sandwich looked kind of questionable on the inside, but I mean, it's a stuffed sandwich. It's only gonna look so pretty. One thing that my parents did tell me though is that in spite of the fact that there was cheese in it, and there was egg, and there was a sausage patty, and even that guava paste or sauce, the pancake itself was really dry. That makes sense because they pre-make these, wrap them in foil, and then leave them under a heat lamp until someone buys them. So all the time, all the while, the pancake is just getting warmer and warmer and drying out. Hopefully I won't have that same issue here because I'm not going to be doing a pre-made situation, but it's good to know because it makes me feel like very likely mine will end up being tastier than the one at the parks. The challenge for me is going to be getting the pancakes to cook all the way through while keeping in mind that there's stuff inside as well. So typically when you're making a pancake, you watch for the bubbles, and that's how you know to turn it or flip it over. We're not going to be able to watch for bubbles because there's going to be stuff in between. So the timing of it is going to be a little bit experimental. I also got these little rings to help me form the shapes of the pancakes, and I'm realizing now that they're a little low profile for what we have in mind. So hopefully it'll work out, but potentially not. In any case, before we actually jump into cooking, let me show you what I'm actually going to be working with as far as ingredients. Now, I've got a bunch of pancake recipes already on my channel. I have gluten-free pancakes galore made with all different types of flours and stuff, but this is my favorite pancake recipe. When I'm making pancakes just for myself, this is the one that I always use. You also, of course, have the option to use different mixes and stuff, whatever you have on hand. If you're not worried about gluten or dairy, you can just use Bisquick, etc. But I am going to be using these things today. So my recipe calls for an egg, half a cup of dairy-free milk of choice, soy milk, almond milk. You could use regular milk if you're not worried about dairy-free. I'm going to be using my original nut pods because it's my favorite thing to use whenever I need to substitute dairy, period. So half a cup of that. 3 tablespoons of sugar. I think I might have just enough left in this jar, so I'm going to go ahead and use it up. 2 teaspoons of baking powder. And lastly, 1 cup of white rice flour. I have made this recipe successfully, subbing out the white rice flour for just regular, like 1-to-1 gluten-free flour. But this is my favorite way to make it because the texture of the pancake ends up coming out a little bit crispy on the edges while still staying fluffy inside. And I'm aiming for the best possible outcome here, so I'm using the best possible ingredient. For the cheese inside, I'm going to be using a slice of this Follow Your Heart provolone. Follow Your Heart is my favorite brand of dairy-free cheese personally, so I always recommend it to anybody starting out. I'm also going to scramble 1 egg, and I'm going to season it because I always believe in seasoning every single layer of a recipe in order for it to be its most flavorful and have its best possible outcome. Again, that's what we're going for always whenever we're trying to do a copycat recipe. And then lastly, the sausage. I'm going to be using this brand, the Smithfield fully cooked pork sausage patties. I find these on Amazon fresh, and I sometimes find them at Walmart, although if you're at Walmart, Great Value also has a sausage patty that's a really good dupe. I like both of them because of the flatness of the patty, so it's a good size for sandwiches typically, but also because the seasonings really remind me of like a McDonald's breakfast sausage patty. And that to me, maybe it's just a nostalgic thing because that's what I grew up eating, but that to me is like the standard for a good breakfast sausage is the McDonald's breakfast patty. So we've got one of those here. Basically what I'm planning to do is, like I said, I'm going to scramble my egg. I'm going to cook my sausage patty. I want to make sure that those 2 elements are completely cooked through before we even start on the pancake. I'm going to make my pancake batter, and then I'm going to pour some pancake. I'm going to put my sausage, my egg, my cheese, cover it with a little more pancake, and then I'm going to put a lid on it. I'm thinking I might try cooking it kind of low and slow because that way I'll give it a chance to cook all the way through without burning the outside. We might have to try a couple different times before it turns out right, but that's fine. I got the time, I got the ingredients. Let's experiment. My egg is cooked. I made it a nice little soft sort of scramble so that it wouldn't be dry, since dryness is what we're trying to avoid here. I'm going to crack 1 egg into this bowl. I'm going to add to it the ½ cup of nut pods, dairy-free milk, regular milk, whatever makes sense for you and yours. Boop. And I'm also adding my 3 tablespoons of sugar. And I'm going to combine all of this, beat the egg, etc. before I move on to my dry ingredients. Boop. Next, I'm adding in my full cup of rice flour. It's literally just ground up white rice. It's an extremely fine flour. Boop. Do it nice and slow so that I don't spill anything. And lastly, we're going to do 2 teaspoons of baking powder. Boop. Boop. If you want to, you can mix your dry ingredients first and get them combined before combining them into the wet. But the recipe I follow doesn't say to do that, and I've never really done it, and I've always had proper success with it. So if you feel you must, I won't stop you, but it's really not necessary. Just like that, very simple pancake recipe. This is going to make more batter than we need for our sandwiches. But we're just going to make the 1 sandwich, so I guess if we need to have a do-over, at least we've already got our batter ready to go. So I'm thinking that that's pretty good. I'm going to leave that right there. We'll clean up a little bit, and then we'll get going on actually attempting to put all this together. So I'm thinking about it, and honestly what makes the most sense is for me to make 2 pancakes. Once they're ready to flip, I can make it so that the parts, the sides that are already cooked are the inside parts that touch the cheese, egg, and sausage. Then I only have to worry about cooking the outer / raw bits, and that will ensure that it is a fully cooked through sandwich. However, this is meant to be a stuffed sandwich, and I feel like if I don't attempt to just cook it all at once and then flip it as one cohesive stack, then technically it's not stuffed. So I'm going to try it that way first, even though every rational part of my brain is telling me that that's silly, unnecessary, and absolutely not going to work. For science, I feel like I need to do that. So I'm going to spray my pan with some avocado oil spray just to keep it from sticking. I'm going to do the same to my rings, which have been washed. There's now oil all over my house, but what am I going to do? That's what it is to cook, right? Also, I forgot to mention to you guys, this is a very big deal and a very big part of this recipe. I have some Guava preserves here. I got this specifically because I typically get like the slab of Guava, hence. But I felt like the marmalade or preserves version would be runnier and closer to what they actually use at the park. So even though I've literally never purchased or used this in my life, I decided today was a good day to try for the first time. Honestly, now that I've opened it, it's pretty much the same consistency as the slab. So I don't know if that's going to make too much of a difference, but I tried. I want to see if I can put this down. Yes, I can. So I can try to fit the lid on there if I have to. I'm going to put just a teeny amount. Look how fluffy that got, by the way. It like poofed up big time. So I'm going to put just enough at the bottom to constitute a pancake. I think that's good. Now I'm going to, it just feels like a lot of stuff to put into the sandwich and still expect it to cook through. So I've got my sausage patty right there, a perfect size if I do say so myself. Let me get my egg, which has been salted and peppered already. Forgive the use of my hands. I'm the one that's going to be eating this regardless. But if you're cooking this for other people, maybe try to find a different method of getting your eggs onto your sandwich. I'm going to break my piece of cheese up into like bits so that I can, oh, this is going to be a super stuffed sandwich. And I feel like it's impossible for the top bun, if you will, to hold its shape. But again, we're going to try, right? And lastly, my little dab of Guava. It's probably about, I'd say, half a tablespoon. I'm going to put it right in the center. Yeah, this is going to be just nuts, actually. But we're going to attempt it all the same. I'm going to regret this, potentially, but it is what it is for science. Luckily, the batter's a little stiffer than a typical batter. So hopefully it'll hold its shape-ish. That's already not happening, is it? Alright, well, that's fine. That's fine. Listen, we're trying our best. We don't have access to all the technology, etc. that Disney World does. So we're going to go ahead and blame it on that. Currently, it's on medium heat. I'm going to drop it to medium-low, and I'm going to set a timer for 2 minutes, and then I'm going to flip it. Who knows what it's going to look like then, and who knows what level of success I'm going to achieve. But that's the plan for now. Okay, it's been exactly 2 minutes. Oh boy, I don't even know how to approach this. I guess it smells really nice though. Ah, that was hot. That was a silly thing for me to do. So let's try our best to voila! Okay, at least one side of it is going to be pretty. There's that. So the ring didn't do us a ton of good. Actually, you know what? I take that back. Because that looks nice and shaped on the top anyways. And it definitely gave us a guide for shaping the rest of the sandwich. So I'm gonna go ahead and say, yay ring. Good job. I feel like because that second part, the top that is now the bottom, was a little thicker because of all the stuff that's going on underneath it, I'm actually going to give this 2.5 minutes starting now. So let's say 3 minutes total. Again, we're on medium low and I have it covered so that hopefully the steam action helps the heat permeate the inner parts of the sandwich too, so that the pancake batter closest to the eggs, sausage, etc. also gets ample opportunity to be thoroughly cooked before I extract the sandwich and plate it. Okay, so 2.5 minutes have elapsed. The pancake is almost taking on like a biscuit looking quality. I don't know if there's really a way for me to test its doneness without just taking the whole thing apart, and that would kind of negate the point, right? So I'm just going to try my best to remove this guy. Oh, we had some spillage there, but it does look cooked through, which is the good news. I'm going to leave that right there to finish doing its thing. Honestly, considering that our rings were so, like, short, I think this is a pretty good result. It's definitely something, it's hot as hell, oh my gosh, but it's definitely something that I could pick up and grip like a sandwich, and I really don't think that it's going to fall apart when I do so, in spite of its appearance. Trying to figure out how to approach it so that I don't take the guayaba off, or guava, as y'all say in English. But that right there looks like a proper cohesive sandwich. It's definitely a stuffed sandwich, right? Because there's no seam, if you will. It's all the way around. All the innards are inside, with that exception right there. I think that looks pretty incredible, actually. I'm going to go ahead and give it a taste and let you all know how badly I burned my tongue. Look at the bottom, actually. Look at that. Like, that's amazing. If I really wanted it to look pretty and aesthetic, I think that using the 2 rings to cook both sides and then just stacking the sandwich like a typical sandwich would be the way to go. But considering that we're going for stuffed, not bad, honestly. That is delicious. I don't want to talk with my mouth full, and I certainly don't want to, like, show you guys what I look like when I'm eating this. But you can distinctly see all the layers, which is something that cannot be said for the original. It's nice and hot throughout. It's definitely cooked throughout. The flavors are all coming through. I definitely get a lot of guayaba, which again was another complaint my parents had, that they felt like they really didn't get a whole lot of guayaba flavor. Understandably, I guess Disney is trying to cater to people that maybe are not used to that taste, which kind of begs the question, why are you buying the thing if you're not sure about what it tastes like, or if you're not going to like the flavor of the thing? But I like guayaba. That has plenty of guayaba. I can taste the guayaba, and it's playing really nicely with the savory sausage and with the egg. The cheese is giving just a little bit of creaminess without like being too strong of a flavor. The pancake is perfect. I am definitely intensely happy with this result. Alright friends, I know that that was a simple one, and it could have been far more dramatic if it hadn't turned out that first time, but I'm really happy with the result. It tastes amazing, the texture's great. I feel like if my parents had bought this from that kiosk, they would have walked away happy. That's not even considering the added bonus that this is allergy friendly. So if nothing else, I feel like this proves that this is one of those things where you're better off making it at home actually than you are eating it at the parks, regardless of what your dietary restrictions might be. I'm thrilled with the result. I'll definitely be making this again. Maybe I'll simplify my life and just make the pancakes and then the sandwich, but the concept was proven. We can definitely do it right here at home just the way they do it at the parks, if not better. So I would love for you guys to try this recipe yourself and let me know how you like it. If you make any alterations, let me know that too. I always love to see how people make my recipes their own. And if you have any ideas for another theme park food or resort food that you'd like to see me try to adapt and make a copycat recipe of, let me know in the comments. I want to thank you all so much for being here and watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, I hope you'll please give it a big thumbs up. Grogu wants to remind you that I also post on my channel at least 3 times a week, so please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell because I wouldn't want you to miss a minute. Thanks so much again for watching. See you real soon.